8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
4-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Monday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Still 2 hours to go with Donnie right side and myself, Ben Stevens, up until 11 a.m. Eastern time. New week, new money, but we look back on the weekend that was a championship weekend. Donnie right side in sports, but a ton to get to here all around the sports landscape. Decision day for Dan Hurley, reportedly on this Monday. Does he stay in stores and continue the three-peat chase for the Connecticut Huskies men's basketball program, or will he make his way to the City of Angels to coach LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the LA Lakers? We await a crucial decision for college hoops and the association. We'll look back on what we have seen so far in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals with our coach, JY. Might we break some news on this Monday morning in this second half hour? Some puck talk from game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Final on a Saturday in Sunrise. The Florida Panthers dominant on home ice, and the man known as Bob sensational, and a weekend of winners in sports, Donnie. That is our task in hour 2.
Absolutely. And by the way, what are the odds here that we're not going to get a decision from Mr. Hurley over the next 2 hours here? I think we will. So we'll be able to update that information live, but also next 2 hours. Yes. Now, having said that, we'll talk about this in the next segment, but I do think it's a masterclass right now by the agent who represents Dan Hurley, playing this perfectly. If you can equate it back in the day, like a 5-star athlete where it's like, okay, I got trips to Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. You never commit when you fly there right away. You always keep that ante up. You're like, hey, coach, love it here. Can see myself playing. Not ready to commit just yet. So it forces that ramping up of everything, which back in the day was dropping off book bags on the front lawn with thousands of dollars in it. You want to keep them guessing, which means they probably loved what they heard, Ben, but are like, you know what? I think we can get more out of the Los Angeles Lakers. I love this game. Fantastic play by the agent.
Yeah, it's going to be a big agent play potentially, but Connecticut will not be able to match anything that the LA Lakers are throwing out, which reportedly, again, we'll talk about the contract and Dan Hurley in just a moment, is an 8-year, $100 million deal that actually is not as worth as much annually as Donnie and I maybe predicted on Friday. Before we get to the Dan Hurley conversation on the other side, a weekend of winners. Donnie, the tennis is officially over in Paris at the 2024 French Open, but not over before history over the weekend. A 5-match thriller in the men's final yesterday between Carlos Alcaraz, the 21-year-old Spaniard, in the hunt for his third Grand Slam title already in his young career, and Sasha Zverev looking for his first Grand Slam titles. Zverev had a 2-1 lead entering set number 4 before Alcaraz rallied 6-1, 6-2 to win it in 5 sets. He becomes the youngest player in the Open era ever in men's tennis history to win a Grand Slam title on all 3 surfaces. First, on the hard court at Arthur Ashe at the 2022 U.S. Open. Then last summer in July at the 2023 Wimbledon, of course, winning on grass. And then yesterday in Paris on the clay at Roland Garros, our 2024 French Open champion in the men's draw, the 21-year-old Carlos Alcaraz.
Looks like he's the one taking that mantle as the next great, young, talented tennis player here. And you saw yesterday on social media, Rafa congratulates him as well. Very happy to see him moving forward and also just gaining steam now. As you said, only one more victory, I guess, at the Australian Open, which would complete that Grand Slam challenge. And we'll see if that does happen. But impressive performance nonetheless. These guys play a long time out there. If you're going in that 5 sets, that's tremendous stuff to watch you play out. And congratulations. And also, nobody's going to say, well, there were injuries that helped him go along. That's sports, man. Sometimes the best ability is availability, and Alcaraz was there, and he won it.
And listen, he was cramping up this weekend, too, able to prevail in that French Open final. I bet Carlos Alcaraz twice during that 5-set thriller yesterday in the final match. Alcaraz was a minus 285 favorite pre-match. Pre-final, I bet him when they were tied at a set apiece into the 3rd set, 2 games apiece tied, and he had taken a slight lead into that 5th game. It was minus money then. Thought I got a great number. He actually was up 5-2 in the 3rd set. Zverev came all the way back to win set number 3. So I bet him again entering the 4th set. Alcaraz with some plus money. A big day for Carlito Vamos, his 3rd Grand Slam title. Donnie, he can win the 2025, 2026, or 2027 Australian Open and still become the youngest player ever in men's tennis to complete the Grand Slam. Dominance on clay is something his countryman, Rafael Nadal, had done in Paris. We're going to start to talk similar numbers for Iga Swiatek on the women's side. Her 3rd consecutive French Open title, 6-2, 6-1 over Jasmine Paulina in Saturday's women's final over in Paris. Make it 4 out of the last 5 French Opens, I believe, that Swiatek has been successful. She dominates on the clay at Roland Garros.
By the way, how quick are her matches? Because we always sometimes take a look at the men's that goes 5 sets. It's like, oh my goodness. But if you're winning in 2 sets like that, does she actually play for less than an hour at times? I mean, she has to be closing people out quick. Wow.
Hour and 4 minutes, DRS. That was what our producer, Joe Frieso, just gave us. Our producer, Joe Frieso, a tennis guy. He told me before the tournament, Iga Swiatek is putting up Rafa numbers. Bet her at a minus 165 price. She closed minus 175 pre-tournament. Minus 2,100 entering the final against Jasmine Paulina. And, of course, made very, very quick work. We're talking Rafa numbers for Swiatek on the clay in Paris. Frieso, into our ear, if you will. Pause. Are we going to play all the Olympic tennis at Roland Garros starting next month? Yes. Okay. So we'll have the French Open and the Olympic tennis as well at the 2024 Olympiad over in France. Now from the clay to the grass of Dublin, Ohio, the 2024 Memorial Tournament at Jack's Place, Muirfield Village, outside of Columbus. And if there is a golf tournament that Scottie Scheffler is involved in, and he is not committing crimes, I joke because all the charges, of course, dropped against Scottie in Louisville, he is going to win said golf tournament. 5 titles in the last 8 events for Scottie Scheffler. He wins the Memorial, being steady and strong on Sunday, holding off the field at 8 under.
Yeah, sometimes you like those type of wins where it's not just wire to wire and you control everything. You want some adversity, and he certainly hit that there with that triple bogey over the weekend, but also coming down the stretch, still needing the par on that final hole, and you saw Morikawa with that long birdie putt to get right back into it. That was a really fun finish, and also a 5 to 6 footer here to clinch that tournament, which was fantastic to watch, a precursor to what we might be watching this weekend at the U.S. Open.
He is a 3-1 favorite. Scotty Scheffler is plus
Crazy.
300 to win what is considered golf's toughest test in our national championship. You have to bet it. How could you not? It doesn't matter if it's the most difficult test. Scotty is by far the best player in the sport right now. Pinehurst number 2 down in the Carolinas. That's what we'll preview throughout this week. Final leg of the Triple Crown in horse racing, the Belmont Stakes, but at Saratoga. Donnie, what a year it was of long shot prices winning the Triple Crown. Mystic Dan won the Kentucky Derby at 18-1. Seize the Gray won the Preakness, as we all know, at a 9-1 price at Pimlico. And that third leg, Dornick, the champion, 17-1. His pre-post odds to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. Some big plus money prices. None of them I bet throughout this summer of horse racing.
See that? Maybe next year we get back at him. It was interesting also to watch the Belmont at Saratoga, which didn't have that big of a crowd, but I guess still a good race had by all. And also, where did my guy Seize the Gray come in? Was he close? Did he finish in the money? Like who? What was 1, 2, 3? Do we know?
I don't think he finished top 3 because I know my father had a wager on Seize the Gray and Sierra Leone and our guy Dubsy giving out resilience. And I don't believe any of those 3 thoroughbreds finished.
You weren't too resilient in that bet.
Play store show. Listen, tough day. Tough day out on the track at Saratoga. The Dan Hurley discussion. Does he stay or does he go? Next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
4-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Today is decision day. Once again in the NBA summer and all that we have in this offseason. If LeBron James started the decision, potentially his new head coach might have the same on this Monday. reports from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski over the weekend, Dan Hurley is expected to make a decision on his future Monday. That is today. He tells ESPN the Lakers made a, quote, compelling case to him in L.A., but he loves what he's built with a two-time defending national champion in UConn and is weighing it all right now. There were many wrinkles to this conversation, Donnie, with the bombshell news on Thursday morning. It was game one of the NBA Finals after a full week off and the decision that Dan Hurley might make. We brought you some follow-up on Friday as well, that Dan Hurley met with his UConn team on Thursday afternoon. They were off this weekend. Dan Hurley was not far away from us inside Madison Square Garden, jamming out to the Piano Man and Billy Joel. We got some contract numbers this weekend as well about what reportedly is being offered from the LA Lakers. 8-year deal for $100 million. That's $12.5 annually. It was not as high from an annual average salary basis as you or I, DRS, expected, but of course a long-term deal in the 8 digits, $100 million. It is decision day for Dan Hurley. What choice do you think he makes?
I think he goes to the Lakers. And also, as I pointed out in that last segment here, this is the perfect dance between the agent, the coach, and an organization by saying, we love it here. The money just isn't right yet, so we're going to take some time to think about it. And also keep in mind, you want to take a look at Dan Hurley as a very proud guy and what he's built at UConn, back-to-back national champions. You know what's probably weighing on his mind more than actually just going to the Lakers? It's the timing of this. And it's not to any fault of his. You have to wait till the Lakers season to get over before who they're actually going to see. But here's what's going to take place. When Hurley takes that job for the Los Angeles Lakers, the shrapnel is not going to be like, I can't believe he did that. They'll be happy for him, and rightfully so. Your goal is to coach at the highest level after conquering a level like college basketball and make all the money you can get. That's what being a professional actually is. But UConn will be torn apart. I mean, these guys will leave in mass once he leaves that school, and sort of that pride where Hurley's going to be coaching with all the money going like, you know what, man, I left him in a bad spot. So that's probably weighing on him more than wanting to coach the Lakers and what the dollar amount is going to be. But having said that, at the end of the day, I would be surprised if he does not choose the Lakers. This is the perfect time to go. You will still always be loved in Storrs, Connecticut with back-to-back champions. And now you're in your early 50s. You can go coach the Lakers 3, 4, 5 years, and you could probably say, you know what? I don't know if this is for me, and take any job you want getting back into the college ranks here. I think this is the perfect chance for him to move forward and make a lot of money. But as I said, the agent's just looking at that deal because we didn't know the particulars, but we're going like, you know what? This is probably the most money any coach is ever going to make in the NBA, and the money's just a little bit short right now. They'll remedy that today to sort of sway him back to the Lakers.
So there have been, of course, the negotiations taking place. Connecticut cannot match the money of one of the most illustrious brands in the NBA and in all of sports, the Los Angeles Lakers, but they can up the ante. Right now, there are 2 coaches in college basketball that make more than $7 million. John Calipari, now at Arkansas, and the highest paid coach in the sport is Bill Self, around $9.6 million. There are reports that UConn is preparing to make Dan Hurley the 3rd highest paid head coach behind Cal and Bill Self. More monetary investment, of course, but his legacy in consideration as well. If Dan Hurley walked away from college basketball right now, he would be considered wildly as one of the greatest head coaches, one of the most proven head coaches in the last 20 years. He is one of 17 college basketball head coaches ever in men's D1 history to win multiple national titles. He is one of 8 college basketball head coaches in men's Division I history to win back-to-back national championships, as he just did these past 2 years at UConn. In only 6 seasons, he has won 2 national titles. And Donnie is spot on. If Dan Hurley makes the decision to go to Los Angeles and things do not work out in the long term, he does not fulfill all 8 years of that $100 million deal, anybody, maybe even including UConn, would welcome Dan Hurley with open arms back to lead their college basketball program. And I will say this, if Dan Hurley's decision today is to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, it is not a statement on college basketball. It is not a statement on collegiate athletics. Dan Hurley has an opportunity to coach at the highest level of the sport for one of the biggest brands, most successful and illustrious proven franchises in all the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers, who still, as of this moment, have LeBron James on their roster. If Dan Hurley makes that decision, it is because he is wanting to test himself at the highest and most premier level of basketball. So we'll just leave it at that.
And also, he gets the best of both worlds as well, as you pointed out, because once you go to the Lakers, you're going to get LeBron James for 2 years. And if that works into a championship, credit him. If it doesn't, that would be an 8-year contract where he gets to build the Lakers and shape them exactly the way he knows how to do that with roster construction. So it's not as if he's saying, you know what, got a young superstar, 21 years old, and you're married to that guy for the rest of your career. You can come in and see what's what. And if it doesn't work out, the Lakers aren't going to be like, oh, man, this is what we hired you for, to make sure LeBron got a final championship. No, you actually hired him to say, post-LeBron era is coming up. We want to make sure we have the coach that's going to be able to build the foundation and set the tone for the next championship run. So I love, this is a perfect scenario to go pro. This isn't like, hey, this came up out of nowhere and you're going to go to Charlotte at this point. No, this is the Lakers brand franchise where you can coach a superstar, and then after the superstar leaves, you can mold that roster. I love it.
And although the bombshell report from Woj came out on Thursday morning, I guess all of the time, as the reporting has stated, the Lakers have been infatuated with trying to lure Dan Hurley to Hollywood. The Genie Bus, the governor, the owner of the LA Lakers, and general manager Rob Pelinka have absolutely loved everything about Dan Hurley, his intensity, his fire, the competitive nature that he brings even as a head coach. We shall see what the Hurley family decides to do. Andrea Hurley, his wife, reportedly at least is welcoming the idea of a move to L.A. as well. Our guy, JY, joins us next, or in just a little bit, I should say. Maybe he's got some more information as well. Puck Talk coming up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We are sorry it has taken so long to get your Stanley Cup Final Game number 1 recap here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. Because it was Saturday night in Sunrise, we break it down here in this second hour. The Florida Panthers dominant on the ice in Game number 1 at home, winning 3-0 over the Edmonton Oilers, blanking Connor McDavid and Edmonton on the other side. Florida expected to win the opening game, minus 142 home money line favorite. A total of 5.5 does stay under. DRS, a couple of things stand out to me about the opening game of this 2024 Stanley Cup Final. Anna Dua, previewing the game on Friday, said Florida's dominant and physical play could be a huge thing for Edmonton to adapt to throughout this series, but might be a slow start in Game 1. Mentioned even the puck line, the Panthers covering a goal and a half at plus 190. Florida did just that. And Sergei Bobrovsky, we gave him the goaltending advantage in this set over Stuart Skinner. A clean sheet on Saturday night. 32 shots, 32 saves, did not allow a single goal for the man known as Bob.
And I believe he's 35 years old. He was a teenager playing goaltending in Philadelphia way back in the day, and apparently the Flyers didn't think he would be that good of a goalie. I believe they got Ilya Bryzgalov in the way the Flyers go, and now you see successful here for the Florida Panthers. Also keep in mind, the reason they won this game was not because you could say like, oh, well, Florida scored 3 times, won 3-0. That's how you do it. But Bobrovsky was tremendous even early in this game because you watch some of these highlights. McDavid had a couple chances on the doorstep and was denied here. This was one where it's like, okay, first period 1-0. That could have very easily been 2-1 Edmonton heading out of the first period into the second period, and it wasn't. It'll be interesting to see in game number 2 how it comes back. But the one thing that we do know, the talent of the Oilers is better than the Florida Panthers. If we're just looking at front-end pure scoring talent, right? But you also take a look at the penalty killing, which has been tremendous for the Florida Panthers in this playoff run, which is something if you're going to give away the man advantage to Edmonton, you better come back with an unbelievable penalty killing situation. And they have that. That was an awesome performance by the Panthers game number 1. Is the series over?
Yeah.
Not by a long stretch. But you have to take a look at 32 shots for the Edmonton Oilers, only 18 for the Florida Panthers, and Florida won that game 3-0. They're fine with laying back in the cut, playing great goaltending, and handling their business on the penalty kill, and that's what they did. I'm looking forward to an exciting game number 2, but game number 1 shows that's why I do think Florida overall is the more talented team when it's all said and done, but still have a nice rooting interest in the Oilers.
Listen, in the Panthers' Eastern Conference final matchup against the New York Rangers, they also blanked the Rangers 3-0 in Game 1. The Rangers came back to win Games 2 and 3 in overtime. All to say, Florida dominant to start, but it doesn't mean they're going to be dominant for the entirety of this series. The Panthers did enter as a minus 130 favorite to win the Stanley Cup, to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. But it was only just about 32 cents of difference as we expected this to be a competitive series, plus 102 on the other side for Edmonton. Florida winning at home in Game 1 has drastically shifted these odds, which I think does present some opportunity, DRS, on the Oilers. Because you look at the series prices right now for the Oilers to cover a game and a half, which would be forcing 7 or winning the Stanley Cup and bringing it back to Canada, is minus 106. I do believe this is still a long series despite the Panthers' dominance and Bob's brilliance in Game 1.
I hope it is. And also, sometimes the narratives do change your opinion. Like, would it be different if, let's just say, a 4-3 victory by the Florida Panthers, Draisaitl gets a goal in there, McDavid gets a goal. Oh, they're right on the doorstep. But the fact that that was a shutout by Bobrovsky in game number 1, that tells you a lot of what you're thinking now for the series moving forward, which means if you're the Oilers and you got shut out, what do you need to do, Ben? Same thing we talk about Kyrie Irving in the NBA. Give me something in the first period. Score first right off the bat in the first 5 minutes. Set the tone for game number 2, because the longer Bobrovsky stands in that net and is shutting you out, the harder it gets to score here. So a big first period coming up this game for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. Still the most likely and the shortest number in the total games market is 7 to see the duration in the Cup final at plus 198. Those were the same numbers entering game number 1 on Saturday in Sunrise as well. However, the big change is the man in net. Sergei Bobrovsky is now the favorite to win the Conn Smythe. That's the playoff MVP at plus 210. And Bobrovsky certainly feels deserving of that number right now after the clean sheet in game number 1. Game number 2 tonight in South Florida. The Panthers, a minus 142 home money line favorite. Will the Donnie Draisaitl household be celebrating unlike Saturday?
Yeah, we got to see. And I guess the correlation will be what for us, Ben? Do you see that price there on the total 5.5? If we get 6 or more goals, that's an Edmonton game. This game stays under, it's going to be Florida. And I hope, again, just for some competitive purposes, which we might not be getting in the NBA, send this 1-1 back here because that atmosphere in Edmonton is going to be off the hook. We'd love to see it.
Rogers Place, we know it well. NBA Finals talk next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What a big couple of segments we have here over this next half hour live on a Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. It's Ben, it's Donnie. But the man in the middle is our coach, his scouting report to tell us if there is any life left in the 2024 NBA Finals or if it will be another easy gentleman's sweep, potential sweep for the Celtics. He's James Young, JY, but not just the scouting report, maybe JY the insider. Once again, Dan Hurley decision day on this Monday. What does James Young know about what Dan Hurley might do? Will he stay in stores? Will he head out to the bright lights of Hollywood in Los Angeles? Plenty of that coming your way over these next 3 straight segments. JY, I hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for being here on this Monday.
It's always great to be on with you. And listen, I got to say, I know we're going to talk about Hurley later, but JY tried to go to a concert this weekend. The only problem is, friend, I got the wrong concert and the wrong
Savage
state.
21?
No.
Where do we go?
It's 21 Savage. What are you talking about?
Savage?
21. What are you throwing down?
Hold on a second.
Wild.
Hold on a second. We were ready to talk about Billy Joel and Dan Hurley, I guess, being in Madison Square Garden. But my co-host, Donnie Rightside, just called 21 Savage 21.
Love it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
look in the mirror.
Not to be outdone by Donnie's knowledge of rap music, Coach Young ended up at a Chris Stapleton concert. So I went looking for him on Saturday, but wrong concert, wrong place.
What does any of that have to do with anything we are discussing here?
I like it.
What is happening?
I like where we're going.
We're off to a good start. We're off to a good start.
Yeah.
What is happening? Again, I continue my Mark Jackson meme here on the early line. what is happening in the game that I love. Anyway, let's focus first on the NBA Finals in the opening 2 games of this set before we get into concerts or Dan Hurley a little bit later on. Boston victorious in game number 2, 105-98, covering ever so slightly once again as a 6.5-point favorite inside TD Garden. Pre-game total JY of 215 stays under. Boston takes a 2-0 series advantage in the 2024 NBA Finals. There are many things that you could say. Drew Holiday, stellar performance in game 2. Nobody on Dallas helping out Luka Doncic with a 32-point triple-double. But in your mind, JY, what has been the main reason the Celtics have a 2-0 series lead?
Kyrie Irving. Simply put, I said if they're going to win this series, Kyrie's got to be fantastic. And he's been anything but. I thought maybe the game 1, shaking it off would be something, but to turn around and go 7 of 18 from the floor in game number 2, this guy is scoring 14 points a game, 17 of 37. This is the guy at what point, Ben, was a 50, 40, 90 player in his career. I mean, it's 50% from the floor, 40% from the 3, 90% from the foul line. He has been marginable at best. Now, listen, is he doing other things? Is he passing the ball? Yes, 6 assists last night. I get it. But if Dallas is going to compete in this series, Ben, he's got to score. He just has to. And yes, PG Washington gives you better minutes. Derrick Jones Jr. gives you 11 points. I get it. Gafford, 13-9. Yada, yada. You need that number 2. You need that, was that Becky Hammond? That 1A. I guess that 1B, I would say, if Luka's 1A. To take the pressure off of Luka, but also to open up for other people. Kyrie has not been good. They're down 2-0. And if he's not better Wednesday and Friday, man, by the time we get to next Saturday, this series is going to be over. He must be much better and much more aggressive and much more better in making his shots.
Here's a tough takeaway also from game number 2 is you got that great performance out of Luka, which we'll talk about in just a few moments, but Tatum and Brown, 18 points in 21. And also, Tatum couldn't hit the shot to save his life in that first quarter and a half. Finishes at 6 of 22 from the floor, and they still won this basketball game. So as you're lining up, we talked about it before the series, Coach. You said the Boston Celtics were a much deeper team. It's showing now where our superstars, talking about the Celtics, don't need to perform great, and we can still win basketball games, even though the other superstars, at least one of them, is performing well for the Mavericks. Down 0-2 moving forward. What the expectation for the Celtics? What happens if they do bring their A game out here, Coach?
If these role guys, and if you remember before the series started, I said that the A-level guys of the Mavs, meaning Luke and Kyrie, have to be much better than the advantage of the B guys that the Celtics are going to have, which is obviously Porzingis, Holiday, and White versus Jones, Gafford, and Washington. Folks, it's happening. The gap is, and because Kyrie's not bringing his part, the Celtics B guys, or glue guys, whatever you call them, they're bringing, and this is what makes Boston folks so dangerous, is any night, any one of those 5 can get you 20. At any night, Al Horford can go off and hit 3 or 4 threes. On any night, a guy like Peyton Pritchard can give you something off the bench. If he hasn't played well, I mean, besides the shot he hit, at the end of the third quarter, they have so many different layers to how they beat you, and they're kind of all chameleon, right? Their ability for them to share roles. Now, it was interesting because of the comments that Jason Kidd made over the weekend, right? Or I think it was Saturday, right? About, Jaylen Brown being the best player. That's a slight towards Tatum. Now, if that would have got in Tatum's head, he would have been like, no, man, I have 30 shots. I'm giving it up. But what Boston did is they allowed him to be the facilitator more, put the ball in his hands more, and he kept making the right play. He may not make the shots, but he got the attention, he got the assists, and that is what made them really, really good, is the fact that Tatum could go off and be a Robin and get other guys involved. It was just a great performance by that team that is beating basically Luka and the Pips.
6 of 22 for Jason Tatum, but 12 dimes, 18 points, only 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. Jaylen Brown has scored 20-plus in each of the first 2 for Boston, but last night's leading scorer for the Celtics, that was Drew Holiday, 26 points, 11 of 14 from the floor. We'll talk NBA Finals MVP with Boston up 2-0 in our next segment. JY, it almost feels a little bit antiquated in a way, or a little bit more simply stated, that entering this series, we said that Dallas had the best player, potentially the best duo, that had to be, as you just said, for supreme to the duo of Boston if there was going to be a chance for the Mavericks to win the NBA championship, because the balance and depth of Boston would reign supreme. And that has happened here in the first two games of this series, despite Luka Doncic scoring 30-plus in each of the first two, despite Luka going off for his third 30-point triple-double of this NBA playoff run for the Mavericks. But we saw him entering last night. We got the reports that he was questionable ahead of Game 2. He was getting wrapped up on the sideline anytime he checked out of the game. Can Luka Doncic's play continue at this level in a precarious situation for the Mavs as they're down 0-2?
His play can continue, but it ain't going to matter, Ben, if the other guys, namely Kyrie, don't step up. He's putting the team on his back. I mean, just think about the first quarter and what he came out there, come on, gunning. 13 points in the first quarter, 5 of 7 from the floor, basically keeping you in the game in that first quarter, in that second quarter. Obviously, in the second half, 3 of 8 from the floor, 5 turnovers, kind of fell off a little bit. But that's why you need Kyrie at that point to start to carry the load the other way. Well, what did Kyrie do in the second half? He was 2 of 8 from the floor, all 3 from the three-point line for 6 points. They need to trade roles, and that's when Dallas is at their best, because it allows Luka, I don't want to say take plays off, because he never takes plays off, but you can't load up on him as much if the second side of the floor can get going, because let's be honest, there's no one else on that team, Ben, that can create their own shot besides Luka and Kyrie.
P.J. Washington has been Dallas's second leading scorer in each of the first 2 games of the 2024 NBA Finals. Donnie and I said it in both of those 2 recaps. If that is the case, the Mavericks might not win a single game in this championship series. Will they, though, as we get ready to change venues for game number 3 on Wednesday? We look at the rest of the series next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The Celtics hold serve on their home floor, which is something Boston has done inside TD Garden all year long. Should we be surprised that the Celtics have a 2-0 series lead in the 2024 NBA Finals? Maybe not, but how many more games will we see in this championship series, with Boston just 2 wins away from championship number 18? Now, JY, the Celtics entered the NBA Finals greater than a $2 odds-on favorite to win Larry O'Brien Trophy number 18. They have been booked as a heavy favorite virtually all season long. After taking that 2-0 series advantage with the 105-98 victory in Game 2, it's a minus 1,000 price in favor of the Celtics to win the NBA title this season. How many more games does the NBA Finals go?
Well, I would like to say 6, and not 6 games, but 6 games total, so 4 more games, because I do think Dallas is going to get at least one, hopefully both of the games at home. At least I'm praying to God it's the case, because Lord knows we need somewhat of an entertaining NBA Finals, because it's been anything as such. So I do think there's going to be Dallas will play better at home, a little bit of regression by some of the Celtics, maybe someone even like Porzingis, who you never know with that leg. And the fact he's going back to Dallas. I think this is going to go 6. I said Dallas in 6. Maybe it's Boston at 6, but I still think it's going 6.
With the extension of the series, and we hope it certainly does go 6 or 7, gives us some great content and also be a great series. But game number 3 is going to be pivotal. But talk to me about this, Coach. You take a look at Luka Doncic and how well he's performed in the playoffs. But then we get those games where it's yesterday before the game. We don't even know if he's going to play, downgraded to questionable on game day. Are we worried at all about Luka's health moving forward here to try to even extend the series and get it at least back to Boston?
I mean, you always want to be concerned when you see a player go from probable to questionable, 6 hours before tip-off. That's always going to be a concern, obviously seeing how Luka was on the sideline. But Luka's a gamer. Luka's going to battle. Luka's going to come through. Luka's going to play. Luka's going to do whatever he's got to do to play. Like I said, it's about Kyrie. It's about the role players. And what you hope for is when you get into your home gym, you sleep in your own bed, maybe the shots just fall a little bit more in your own arena. At least you got to hope. I got to try and find something for Dallas to feel like they could make this run. It's tough because you look at Boston and they could just, if Tatum's off, Brown can go off. If Brown's off, there could be Holiday. If Holiday doesn't go off, there could be White. Then there's Porzingis. Then there's Pritchard. Like, for us, it's still going to be like, can Kyrie get you 25 or so points? Because you need, I would say, honestly, 50 to 55 points from the two of them, and the bench should do enough for you to get over the hump. That has not happened yet, and that's why we're in this series right now at 2-0 Boston.
JY, it seems obvious that Kyrie is the key for Dallas to win a game in the NBA Finals. Game number 3, 2 days away, Wednesday night in Dallas, as we change spots for the first time, where the Mavericks are an ever so slight home favorite, laying a 1.5, minus 122 on the money line. So outside of hope and some home cooking, from a coaching perspective, what can Jason Kidd and his Dallas staff do to get Kyrie Irving going for game number 3?
I would run him off as many screens as I can and try to create matchups where you get switches and get Kyrie on a more favorable person guarding him. Sometimes when you bring the ball up the floor, it's easy to set up. So I would run we would call it DHOs, dribble handoffs or dribble drops. Maybe dribble drop into a ball screen. Some kind of false motion action to get Kyrie on the move, Ben, as he gets the ball, instead of having him catch and then come off the wing ball screen, or having him catch and go one-on-one. Sometimes when you get a player moving when they get the ball, they get momentum going, they get the defense moving in a direction, and then you can get into your ball screen or whatever, or stagger screen, or whatever, horns action, whatever you want to do. Kyrie's got to be on the move more and get the ball on the run. And then also, not a team that runs transition, is maybe have him be the outlet guy. So when the ball gets off a rebound, outlet it to him and let him play with space one-on-one in the open floor.
You know what else I'm looking forward to here is game number 3, what those injury concerns will be for Porzingis. We saw him come in and have an immediate impact in games 1 and game number 2, plus minuses over 10 in each one of those games. If we don't have Porzingis in game number 3, what do we get out of the Celtics here? Is just more Al Horford, and also the ability maybe to attack the rim does open up for a player like Kyrie Irving.
Well, that's the key thing, right? And I think that's why Boston has looked much better, is the fact that Kristaps Porzingis is averaging 2.5 blocks a game in his first 2 games back. He's a rim protector. And you know what, guys? Listen, and I think people need to understand this. It's not sometimes about the block shot, right? Or even the contested shot. It's the fact that the guy is there, and you know he's there. And now guys start to think a little bit, right, Donnie? So maybe you don't attack the basket knowing that Kristaps is there, whether he comes to block it or not. Sometimes you change what you run offensively to do so. The problem we have with Dallas is the fact is he's going to be around the basket because of the dunk spot. I mean, can you play Maxey a little bit more and give him more minutes? But he doesn't really do much besides stretch the floor, right? He's not a force offensively, doesn't rebound. It's got to be this. If Kristaps is down low, you have to live sometimes on the mid-range game. You got to be able to pull up 15 feet away to what we call that kill zone area on elbow and knock down shots there if you're nervous that KP is down there. Now, if KP doesn't play or he's compromised, that opens up a whole nother ball of wax, because I don't think Al Horford, even as well as he's played in this series, is not the rim protector.
JY, it feels like we're asking the question, how many more games do we get in the NBA Finals, but ultimately not who ends up an NBA champion, as the Celtics are a minus 1,000 favorite and have that 2-0 series advantage. We hope for competition, but if Boston ends up winning title number 18, who's going to win NBA Finals MVP at this point?
It's so wild because of the fact of how well all these guys are playing in different spots. But to me, I still think it's going to be Tatum, because he should still be up there in the points. But as long as he leads the series, or up there in the series lead and rebounds and assists, that's how he does it, because of the totality of his game. Jason Tatum right now should be the MVP.
I mean, when you look at the first 2 games, the MVPs for Boston have been Kristaps Porzingis and then Drew Holiday in game 2. It's not like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum has taken a stronghold on that hardware. Plenty more up next with the coach on the early line.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet, because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is, you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice, that potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. only on SportsGrid.
Oh boy, another day on the calendar and some more interesting discourse around one Caitlin Clark. So, over the weekend, Friday night hours into early Saturday morning, it was reported that Team USA and the women's basketball roster for the 2024 Olympics had come out. And there was one notable name missing. That was Caitlin Clark. But when you look at the actual reported roster, it is pretty darn stacked. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, Brittany Griner, Jewel Lloyd, Diana Taurasi, Chelsea Gray, Nafisa Collier, Alyssa Thomas, Jackie Young, and Kalia Copper. But Caitlin Clark was not included. So before we heard from Clark yesterday ahead of Indiana Fever practice, it allowed many to speak for Caitlin Clark as they have often done. JY, what is your assessment? Was Caitlin Clark truly snubbed of a spot on the U.S. Olympic roster?
If you base it on marketability, yes. But it's not about marketability. It's not the WNBA All-Star game. It's a U.S. Olympic team, and an Olympic in which they play more physical internationally, Ben, than they do in the WNBA. Now, if the Olympics were in the United States, then I think you have to put her on the roster. But I can't go there as a coach and say she deserves a spot over any one of those people. Now, people have brought up, including our own Kevin Walsh, well, why has Diana Taurasi been on the team? Well, Diana Taurasi is basically the GOAT. And if you're going to take off Taurasi, then I'm going to argue that Enrique Wumbuale should deserve the spot over Caitlin Clark as well. So to me, and here's the other thing, Ben, I looked up before I came on air, I went to find out, like, what time are the Olympic ladies playing? Are they playing, like, prime time slots? 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, 1 p.m. on a Friday, 11:15 on a Sunday. That is East Coast time. They're not even playing those primetime spots. And if NBC was that, like, we want her, we need her on the team, someone from NBC would have talked to the Olympic Committee and said, we need this girl on the team for ratings. I get it. She'll have her time. Maybe she could have been on a 3-on-3 team, which has had Kelsey Plum on it, which has Haley Van Lith on it this year, who just transferred to TCU. I get it about the marketability. But if you're asking me about pure basketball, Ben, no, I do not think she could play on the team. But she will be a great Olympic player in 4 years.
It is crazy the way it worked out because it is a business first and foremost. And you're right about the network making that call, saying, I don't care, you're going to kick somebody off there because we want to drive these ratings. And also, talk about the jersey sales. That Team USA jersey with Caitlin Clark would have been an absolute mega seller that you're now not going to have that. So we'll see how it turns out in the future. But we have other decisions that need to be made other than who's going to make the Olympic team. And that's Dan Hurley. A yes or a no expected today for the Los Angeles Lakers coach. What's the latest? And what is your guess here on this?
Well, obviously, Dan flew back on Friday. There was thought that there was a workout yesterday that was supposed to take place and that Dan Hurley was going to talk to his guys. Now, obviously, that did not happen. It's supposed to happen today. And here's the thing. It's been, like, really tight-lipped. Yes, Dan Hurley was at Billy Joel. Coach Young was at Chris Stapleton. We'll move on. But, by the way, JY is a little bit of a Chris Stapleton fan. I'm open about it now. So, anyway, more importantly,
move on.
I think this comes down to he's going to talk to his players. And I think this is also could be a negotiating point, guys, on both sides to get more money and or power from the Lakers or to get as much money he can out of UConn. Reported $15 million, $100 million total deal with the Lakers. He's at 5.3, I think, at UConn. I don't know how much more they can pay him and pay Gino. Well, let's think for sure. They don't have to pay for football because they should just get rid of that sport.
Oh, yeah, no slander to Jim Mora Jr. and the Connecticut Huskies. Let's not do that on the football gridiron. JY, you are a betting man. This is a betting program. If you had to set the favored odds, the LA Lakers or the Connecticut Huskies for the team that Dan Hurley coaches next season, which gets the minus money and which gets your bet?
I would say about minus 175 that he goes to the Lakers. I think he's going to pull the trigger. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to do the respectful thing and kind of keep it as tight-lipped as possible and talk to his players, including all of his 2024 commits who are all on campus right now. I think he has the meeting this afternoon. My bet, I think he takes the job.
That 2024 class, by the way, is absolutely stacked, and it's a bright future in stores. So what would UConn then do in the ramifications in college hoops? Would they go internal, like Kamani Young or Luke Murray, who are rumored for the job right now? Would they start calling a guy in New Jersey? Maybe Shaheen Holloway or James Young maybe making his way to stores as well. A fade away to the break in hour 3 next.